And welcome to Taco Tuesday, where, of course, we discuss fitness, good food, and everything in between. Our goal with these live talks is to provide you with some high value information, and we also give you some action items that you can take at the end. So make sure you stick around so you can get use of those really awesome things that we talk about again at the end of the podcast.
Yes, stay till the end. That's when we share all the big steps. If you're with us live on Facebook, either in our Just for Fun group, Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos, or in our Clean Club coaching group, just give us a thumbs up when you pop in. Tell us you're here. Say hi. And also, if you are not in one of those groups and you're listening perhaps on our podcast or on YouTube, please do come over, say hi, give us a follow on Facebook, and you can be part of the discussion because that's where you get to ask questions and be part of what we're doing over here.
Yes. And so today, this is actually a real treat for us for a few reasons. We're talking about a subject that comes up a lot, like a lot, and can be such a source of frustration for lots of people, me included: meal prep. It's one of those things that really makes us feel like we do not have our shit together. It makes me feel that way all the time. And it looks so great, but it never really seems to work out the way I want it to or the way I expect it to. And then that just makes me feel even more frustrated, makes me feel like I'm more unorganized, and it doesn't really help at all. So what I would really like to talk about today is our fantastic guest. And before we do that, Brandon's going to take us away and give us a little bit more intel on what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of the things that we're not yet practicing or that we can't seem to turn into a habit, right? We usually have this picture, right? This assumption of what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to be done. Right. So when you think of meal prep, what do you guys think? Like, I'll ask you guys who are listening, if you're listening or watching right now, what do you think when you think of meal prep? For me, I think, I picture having everything all in tidy, matching labeled Tupperware in my fridge and just pulling out fresh meals to reheat, and it'll be like Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But what it actually looks like when I try to create that in practice is spending all day cooking things that I might end up throwing away later in the week, probably screwing up a super complicated recipe because I don't cook like that. So when I try to, it does not go well usually. Not having enough Tupperware, right? Having a ton of odds and ends left over, and wasting a lot of food. Right? Like, that's what I hate the most, I think, is that I end up wasting a bunch of food. Now, I think easy recipes are great, right? We've kind of based our recipes in the Clean Club on that idea that we're being really careful not to waste food. We're keeping recipes really simple, but there's more to it, right? And so, we don't want to have to do a whole, just a ton of prep. Right. But sometimes life requires a different approach. Right. So today we're talking with Mari. So Mari is the author of the international Amazon bestselling cookbook, Kitchen Wizard Flexipes. There you go. Thank you, Mari. Perfect. Simple time-saving secrets for tasty global cuisine. Mari Suzuki, welcome. Thanks for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to want to share your experience and thoughts with people in your book?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to share my method with you all, because this simple, meal prep method is very different from what you think of. Like one of the your member said that meal prep equals little containers of the same meal, like 5 days.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Maybe the first day it looks like Instagram, and then you will love it. Second day, it's like, yeah, it's good. Third day,
not so much.
Oh, I mean, you don't even want to see it, right? So what it is like, meal prep can be a lot more simpler, streamlined, and flexible, meaning you don't have to eat exactly the same thing every single day. And
Totally.
then, what if I tell you that from, using the method I described in this cookbook, and then I'm going to share with you today during this podcast, I probably saved about 100 hours a year at least. I mean, I didn't
Wow.
count it, but then that's how it feels. And then also, we saved, my husband and I saved $9,000 in food
Wow.
related alone in 1 year, first year, and then probably every single year afterwards. And then a lot of American family, the research showed that about $2,000, like $1,600 to $2,000 of produce, and then food is wasted in average
Wow.
American household. And then now, because the food cost is so much higher, now we're probably talking about like $3,000. So now it's really a good time to learn how to meal prep in a way that is easier, faster, and then save you a lot of money, and then allow you to eat a lot of different food. So, how did I come to this method? It's interesting because, to be honest with you, I'm not the most organized person. I mean, a lot of people are surprised, but then I think that plan is a four-letter word.
Mm-hmm.
I still do. And I hate planning. And then, I mean, the thing is, when you are spontaneous and then eat whatever you want, you can eat whatever you want, but then very often you don't have the ingredients you need, and then you will be spending hours looking for the recipes, and then by the
Right.
time you want to eat, it's like 12 o'clock at night. So that's not good. But then when you plan things, when you plan, like Monday, you're supposed to be making certain things, and then you have like all the shopping done and everything, but you got stuck in traffic.
Right.
Supposed to take like 2 hours, and then you only have 20. What are you going to do? It's like, okay, well, I can't make this, and then you go to your favorite
Yep. Then you go to
or whatever.
take out.
So, and or like some people just eat the snack, and then before you know it, all the thing you bought for the this beautiful meal plan is sitting in the fridge. You don't really know what to do, and then at the end of the week, it's like, oh, I have to throw away half of the stuff, and then
And
like, yeah, go ahead.
And that's exactly what most people think about when they think of meal planning, right? Like that's what I think about, and it just doesn't work a lot of the time. We end up grabbing takeout on the way home from work. And
Yeah.
so when I think of meal prepping, it bogs me down and it's not something I enjoy, but you have a very different philosophy that's a lot more intuitive. So what exactly is your philosophy around the kitchen, and what does meal prepping mean to you? Because to me it means something cumbersome and time tasked,
Right. I totally understand that. And then, so how I plan my meal now is, instead of planning the menus or like plan the meals, I call it plan the prep. Meaning, like when you're chopping your onions, chopping a quarter of an onion that recipe is calling for, and chopping all 2, 3 onions, it came in a bag. It's basically the same effort, and then you can go even farther. If you a lot of recipe requires sautéed onion,
Mm.
but then it takes a while, right? I mean, not just chopping the onion. You have to take the chopped. I don't know, the chopstick. I mean, it's lunchtime. I'm thinking of food. You have to get the cutting board out. Knife. You have to wash, cut the top off, bottom off, start
Sure.
chopping,
Yeah.
frying, and then take the skillet out, and then all that kind of things. So if you do that for all 2, 3 onions at the same time, the effort is pretty much the same with doing half of it. But then the rest of the week, or if you even freeze it, you don't have to do it again and again and again. And then by having like, sauteed onion just like this.
There you go.
You just use it as much or as little as you want.
So it sounds like as you're preparing a meal, you're already kind of thinking about perhaps future meals, not necessarily a specific recipe
Right.
that's, but you're already thinking about the next meal.
I know what I can use the sauteed onion, or like this is something I always make. It's called mirepoix. It's like a sauteed mixture of onion, celery, and then carrots. And then this is really handy. And then you can make it, use it for like soup, um, stuffings, things like risotto, meat sauce, whatever. And then by having this on hand and ready to go, I know that I can just mix this and then some chicken or some
So
whatever.
play mix and match.
What?
It sounds like you play mix and match a lot.
Yeah. So I know I have a general idea of what I can do, and then I will probably do like for the proteins. I do like these, like this one happened to be like a little pieces of chicken, sauteed, and then very often I make these slice the chicken breast on the sideways, and then cut them all. I mean, slice them and then cook them all. And then maybe on the first day, I will eat it as it is. And then maybe I will put like, I don't know, some kind of sauce. And then later in the week, you can cut them smaller and then throw it into the soup, salad, risotto, whatever, chicken cacciatore, whatever you feel like. But then because these, the whatever it takes time is done, and then basically they're like waiting in your fridge. You open your fridge and then say, oh, I have this and then I have that, and then you just mix and match, and then voila, the dinner is ready in 10 minutes. And then that's the reason why you get to save so much money. And then I said that I saved $9,000, and then how it ended up in $9,000 in 1 year is because that is a reduction of taking out restaurant meals and then all that. And, I thought that I was doing the yes, money on time, exactly. And then when I was at that time I was doing the QuickBooks, and then I thought that okay, so the restaurant meals went down by like $9,000. But that should mean that my, grocery expenses should have gone up a lot, because I knew that we were not going out to eat like, 4 times a week. But to my surprise, the expenses for the, grocery bill was, I think it was about $3,000, like that year and then a year before. And then I was shocked.
Wow.
I knew that I wasn't wasting as much, but then I didn't know it ended up about the same.
Interesting.
And, restaurant and all that kind of going down that much.
Meals out. I got it. Okay, so Mari, I'd like, and I know this is a subject that comes up a lot when we start talking about meal prep, but just some basic guidelines for the grocery store. And perhaps the kitchen as well. I mean, you've shared quite a bit about the kitchen already, which is awesome. So, but yeah, for me, like, I get home from the grocery store and then half the time I just go like, well, what the hell do I do with all of this? Or I go to the grocery store trying to, think of, every recipe that I'm going to follow for the week. And the grocery store is a nightmare then, because I'm trying to shop for specific recipes. How do you recommend people shop?
So I'll share what I do, and for some people, they might be able to start doing it right away, just like I do, and then some people might need a little bit of a baby step.
Sure.
But I just I'm going to show you this little note, and when I go shopping, I have this, like, it's a very very small shopping list.
Okay.
I have and then get, which means
Ah.
I always want to have the core ingredients I always use, you know what your family likes, what you like.
Right.
So, probably about 80% of the stuff should be always at home.
Right.
So when it's time to, eat, by mix and matching, you can do, a lot of different dishes, not necessarily this very specific recipe, but then you have something good and then what you're in the mood for, and then, healthy enough and everything. But then,
Right.
to do that, you kind of need to always have the similar things so that you can rely on your fridge, right? And then
Right.
the reason why I put half is that I don't want to, when I bought like 10 pounds of onion at Costco, I don't want to have more onions.
Right.
Right? So I like in this one it says like have onions, carrots, and then I just write down how many I have. Like carrots 4, celery like one whole thing, potatoes 2, whatever. And then also the other side I have get, and then things like garlic, broccoli, peppers, polenta, fruit, and ground meat. And then I tend to put like general stuff. Like
Mhm.
I might say like leafy greens or
Mm.
salad greens or like green vegetable something, so
Yeah.
that I can get something in that category. And then based on what looks good in the store and then what's in season, what's cheap, and that sort of things, I will
Sure.
decide which one to get.
Right. Okay.
If you're entertaining or something, it's a great idea to use recipe, but then everyday cooking, you could use like maybe like 2, maybe even 3 recipes. I mean, if you're cooking like 7 days, if you're cooking like 5 days, I would just go for 2, and then buy whatever on the recipe, and then maybe substitute with some of the core stuff you know that your family would eat, and then go from there. Because if you try to buy everything for each recipe, like especially I saw the Clean Club has like breakfast, lunch, and then dinner, and then snack meal plan thing. If you
Right.
try to go for every single ingredient, the list will be like
Too much.
millions of, like 150, and then it gets way too overwhelming. And then you will probably some of them you will probably use once and then never use it again.
Mhm.
And then that's how you end up wasting a lot of stuff. Because I mean, me included, how many of us has spices that is like 10 years ago?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ancient spices. Yes.
Right. But then you know that you always use a similar thing, and then that's what you always want to have on hand. But then everything else you can just substitute it, and then sometimes people freak out and say, "Yeah, but then this is not authentic." And I say, "Don't worry about it. You're not opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
You're
So
having family."
sorry, you've talked quite a bit about how you cook intuitively and how that can help eliminate waste, which I think is awesome. I also know like my husband hates eating the same thing every night. So earlier talked about having the same thing for like 5 days. That's what
Uh-huh.
normal meal prep looks like. And that doesn't work to have the same thing for dinner 5 nights in a row. So
Yeah.
can you walk us through an example of just an average typical week and give us an idea of what your meals look like during that week, or just a couple complimentary meals so that we have an idea of what you can make with those staples you just got at the store?
Yeah. So there's 2 things. I mean, first of all, you said that your husband doesn't like to eat the same thing every single day, right? But
Right.
then you don't necessarily want to cook every single day from scratch. I mean, if it's possible, because that requires different recipes, takes time, and then all of that. So I'll show you what I did last night. I made this is a little. I packed it up so it doesn't look very pretty, but then I made the mushroom and then pea risotto.
Okay.
So when you make risotto, you have to make a risotto pot first, and then you add the whatever it is. And then what I did is basically I happen to have these sautéed mushrooms, like 2 different kinds, like chanterelle and then bluefoot mushroom. And I bought it at Berkeley Bowl for like really cheap. And then so before it gets bad, I just sauté them all. I didn't really know what I was going to do it, but you don't eat like mushroom. I mean, butter mushroom, yes, but then like these kind of mushroom, you kind of need to cook it first. So I cook it all at once. So by having that, you could use for a lot of things. So I
Right.
thought, okay, well, I'm going to make a risotto because I have rice on hand, and then mushroom is already cooked. So what I did is after so because I couldn't put all of it into one
Sure.
Tupperware, I put a little bit on top. So yeah, so just look this side. So this risotto is basically plain risotto, right? So when the risotto was done, I took half of it out, and then I'm saving this in a container so that I can use this half, which is with the mushroom and then peas. This is probably one serving each for my husband and I as a leftover for, I don't know, lunch or dinner, whatever. But then I don't have to eat this like 5 times in a row. Now this one, I could put whatever I want, like seafood, or make it more like milanese. I mean, milanese means add some saffron or something, or you can either even make like something like a risotto cake or something like that.
Yeah.
Very nice and as a side dish.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what you can do now. So remember, I had this chicken pieces,
Right.
right? I showed you, and then chicken and mushrooms, and then if you have like things like sour cream, you can make uh, uh, chicken stroganoff. I mean, beef stroganoff is more famous, but
Sure.
my
Yeah.
husband eats beef, so I make chicken stroganoff. And
Perfect.
then also, if you add some mustard into the beef stroganoff, you can make it into like chicken with the mushroom and the mustard sauce, right?
Mm.
But then by adding a mushroom, I mean not mushroom, I mean mustard, and then not serving it immediate next day, but then maybe 2 days later, people wouldn't remember what they ate that much. So they would think
Right.
that they're eating completely different thing.
Sure. I see.
You probably won't even remember, even though you made it. I mean,
Just by changing your sauce a little bit, right? And you can
and
change your sauce a lot just by.
necessarily just too little of a change. You can also like make things like orange sauce or something, with the orange juice. It's really, really nice.
Hmm.
And then again, by having these like, sauteed onion, it's already done. So, I would just throw them into the frying pan, pour some
Nice.
orange juice, and then add some mushrooms if I want to. I don't even have to add the mushrooms. And then, yeah, it's like because it has a little bit of flour on it, it thickens by itself. And then, yeah, dinner is done while you're basically reheating it.
Awesome. So you're really, prepping ingredients rather than prepping entire meals. Then we're mixing and matching, and it sounds like just a little knowledge of what things can go together and complement each other goes a really long way.
Yeah. And then you can go from what you like.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, of course, like, yeah, like, oh, I didn't know that chicken and then orange sauce is something that goes together. But then, especially at the beginning, I would recommend that you combine what you like because, I mean, I mentioned about the orange sauce, but it could be with like, tomato sauce. And then you can make some like a chicken, like easy chicken cacciatore. It's not like Brendan's grandma's chicken cacciatore, which she
Right.
made the whole chicken and then took like 6 hours, whatever. But then
Right.
at least you get the kind of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the weeknight meal, that's all you need.
That's great.
Well,
Yeah, and that's
Mari, I have this really fun game that I play like the day or the couple of days before I go to the grocery store when my groceries are running kind of light. and it actually always turns out to be really fun. It's called What's in My Fridge, and it sounds like you just set your week up to be a very well-organized game of what's in my fridge, which to me personally, that sounds like a lot of fun. That if I've cooked a lot of the ingredients on Sunday when I bought them, things like mushrooms that go bad by Wednesday, then my husband and I on a Tuesday or Wednesday night could just open the fridge and go, what are you hungry for? Ooh, I love onions and mushrooms and this and that. Let's make this and throw it together. That sounds like a lot of fun to make dinner instead of, let me follow this recipe and make sure I have 1 cup of this and 2 cups of that. That sounds
so
tedious.
stressful.
I mean, the recipes have its own place, but for like, when you're busy and everything and then follow recipe exactly is really stressful because recipe is a reflection of somebody else's way of doing things. And then very often, most of us, I mean, if I tell you like, okay, well, saute this chicken, you probably know how to do it, right?
Sure.
I don't need to necessarily like, watch like a hawk and it's like, you're doing this wrong. But then sometimes following the recipe gets like that.
Right.
There's so many different way of doing things. And then unless it's broken, why do you fix it? But then, by using like different recipe, meaning different people's way of doing things, different people's kitchen, different ingredients, different kitchen setup, tools. And then it's like, I mean, this recipe sounds great, but they're not just the ingredients, but then I don't have half of the tools.
Right.
What do you do? Do you go back to like another recipe? No, it's not efficient. I mean, that's like,
it takes the fun.
Right?
Takes the fun out of cooking, right? And really, cooking can be really creative. I think a lot of us grow up probably. I mean, I know I grew up with grandparents who just spent, like my grandmother spent all day like cooking and that was what she did. And everything she made was amazing. Right. And so I always grew up thinking like, oh, well, I need grandma's recipes to make good food. And it took me a long time to figure out that really it doesn't have to be that way at all.
Right.
I can, and that my grandma wasn't even really doing that. Like when I finally got my grandmother's recipes, it was like, it was not what I expected, right? It wasn't like a teaspoon of this, a tablespoon of that, a couple ounces of this. No, it was like a list of ingredients, boom, bang, bang. She just throwing stuff together. And I always wondered why my grandmother never, she wouldn't always eat with us, or she'd take like a tiny little, like nothing of a portion while the rest of us were eating. And I realized because she already ate half of her meal in the kitchen.
I know.
Yeah, you taste your food.
Right. And then a lot of people say like, oh yeah, my food tastes like, it's the same recipe, but then my food tastes like different each time. It's like, that's okay.
That's okay.
I mean, as long as it tastes good, and then the only way to make sure that it tastes good is not just because you follow a recipe, but then because you taste it.
You taste it. Yeah.
It's a very noble concept.
Yeah. And that's a skill that takes a little time. I think a lot of us are afraid to screw up in the kitchen, right? Just going in the kitchen and cooking and laying out all of our stuff makes us nervous. Like, oh, okay, like I got to get it all done and the timing and all of that. And we really don't have to worry about that stuff. We can just have fun and experiment.
That's a very good point, this timing thing. And that's one of the reasons why I really like this, I call it Kitchen Wizard FlexP method. FlexP meaning flexible recipe, is that by doing all the prep at once, you don't have to screw things up. You just chop and then saute. And then while you are like, I'm sauteing like my onion, I will throw in like, eggplants or like bell pepper or like, sweet potato or something in the oven.
Yeah.
So they're like getting cooked concurrently, but then I don't really need to pay attention. And then once the prep is done, they're like ready to go. They're like ready to be eaten.
Right.
And then I would season it lightly, but then season enough to be able to eat right there. So when I'm mixing it, matching, and then build up the flavors, I can add whatever I want. But then even if I forget to season that much, it still tastes good.
Totally.
Because the chicken is already cooked, but then, so I pretty much need to do like reheating in a way. So I don't have to worry about like, timing or drying it up too much and then that sort of thing. It's just so much more fun.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing for me, is that it really can be fun. It doesn't have to be this overwhelming
Right.
thing. And especially when we think of it, like you said, when we were talking earlier, thinking of it more like, these ingredients as Legos, and you can really mix and match and create
Yeah.
a lot of different things with the same, few ingredients,
Yeah.
just by adding something or subtracting something.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And then one thing I definitely recommend is after you go shopping, you come home and then try to do the prep as early as possible. Because
mm,
once you put it in the fridge, it kind of becomes this like a black box sort of things. And then
right.
you're like, oh, I don't want to peel my onion. I don't want to peel. I want to do this. Like, like
Yeah. Well,
just
you said something.
cut them up. All of them. I just cut them up, and then I mean, it smells really nice. But then by having this, your imagination kicks in, and then I mean, melon it's easy to eat it as it is, but you know, um, you would much more likely to use it. But if you don't, it's like you keep like, uh, you know, postponing, and then it's like before you know it, it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
moldy. I have to throw it away.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like prepping, just chopping onions, sauteing onions. It's very, very simple task. So you can even like listen to like, um, your podcast or like,
Right.
book on tape or like I sometimes even watch like tennis match or something. I set my computer and then I would watch my some pro tennis match and then I will be like chopping my onions and stuff.
Yeah. I listen to music a lot in the kitchen. That's
So if you really wanted to rather watch that House Hunter instead of like chopping your vegetables, bring the computer to your kitchen and then watch the House Hunter so that you can, you will be happy and then even happier when you have like all the things prepped and then it's like ready to go.
I love it. Yeah.
If you really, really thank yourself, it's like, thank you for bringing that computer and then watch the House Hunters while you're prepping.
Yeah, you said something really funny the other day when we were talking, that your email inbox and your refrigerator sort of resemble each other sometimes. If we don't if we don't do a little prep, things pile up in there, and before we know it, we're finding stuff in the dark corners
Yeah.
back there that we forgot about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'll probably remember that for a long time.
A simple organization is all you need. You don't have to like, do a lot. But then the thing is, if you go to like, you guys like tacos, so I bring up Chipotle. And then like Chipotle have the menu and they say like, build your meal, whatever. And then they
Right.
use these main protein source, which
Yes.
is already cooked. And then you pick and choose like, rice or tortillas or tacos, whatever, sauce, vegetables. And then all you're doing is mix and matching. You can do
Right.
something very similar. And then that's the reason why all the food comes out right away. You can do something similar, but then you don't have to only stick to Mexican food.
Yeah, sure.
So
Right.
I do when I do like I said, my prep is pretty simply done. So this chicken, one day could be Italian, the next day it could become Indian, the next day it could be Chinese, or the other day, the next day it could
Right.
be Japanese, whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
Heavily season it with whatever the spices, then it's a little bit difficult
Yeah,
to kind of.
that's a little bit tougher.
I mean, it's very simple.
Yeah, that's a really good point, though. Yeah, when you go to a place like Chipotle, they just have those raw ingredients already prepped, and all they have to do is, throw them on the grill, mix them, season them, and then it's on your plate, and it's that fast.
The same with the food trucks and then all the restaurants. I mean,
Right.
it's not that they have these, you know, amazing people who chop everything like so fast, and then they are able to like
Yeah.
sell
Yeah.
live chicken to like roasted chicken in like 5 minutes. No,
Right.
because
After you order it, half
yeah,
the work's already done before you make the order, right?
yeah. I mean, they just did do the final assembly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it could be like that at home too, and then you can start simple.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
one thing I really wanted to bring up is that Rebecca said about the what's in the first thing, and a lot of people are afraid of like, oh, what, and I think Brandon said about like what and what goes together thing.
Right.
The one thing I want to share with you is that I sometimes do like make your own sushi class.
Mm.
And then I would, pre-prep all different things. I mean, it could be like, sashimi, or it could be like, mushrooms or whatever for like vegetarian people, all different things. And
Right.
then after they learn how to roll sushi and everything, they just put whatever they want. And then sometimes people put the weirdest combination. I mean, I don't say anything because that's their food. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, I would never do that. And then,
Don't be afraid. Throw some things together.
Yeah, get weird. It's okay.
they get really creative. And then I was wondering, like, how I put the smile on, but then inside it's like, I hope you like it. And then, but always, they're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is the best sushi I've ever tasted. I'm
That's
genius.
great.
And then I was like, I'm really, really glad.
Yeah.
The thing. The reason is that I'm not, making fun of these people's taste buds or anything, because their intuition knows what combination they like.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the combination sounds weird, they're not going to do it. Like, for example,
Right.
I would never make peanut butter and a jelly sandwich because it's gross for me. Or never make rice pudding because it's like,
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So, whatever they like, I mean, whatever you like, don't worry about me because I'm not eating your food. I mean, when I come over for dinner, maybe it's a different situation. When you're cooking for your family, you know the best about yourself and then your family. So just
Awesome.
stress that. And then if you have like, children or husband, like Rebecca does, ask your family like, so, what kind of flavor would you like?
Mm.
Or, just help them to put some sauce in, or like help them do some crazy stuff.
Yeah. I like it. Do some crazy stuff. That's awesome. Well, Mari,
And everything, it has like chocolate in it.
yeah, right. I know there's some strange stuff out there that we don't even realize is.
And then, like, in Cincinnati, they put the chocolate in the chili too. I mean, not a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know. I think that's really important that that people experiment and have fun and do weird stuff, and a lot of the time it works out.
Before you
Just
put too much in.
What's that?
Oh, I said, make sure to taste your food
Yeah.
before you put the entire block of like, pound plus chocolate.
Yeah. Don't put a whole Hershey bar in your chili.
It goes a long way.
Absolutely. Mari, this has been great. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge and your insight with us. It's been really fun. Where can people find your book?
Yeah, so you can just go to my website. Well, actually, if you go to marasuzuki.com/Amazon, it goes to my book on Amazon.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we put a link to that in the comments here.
It's
Exactly.
marasuzuki.com, so you're more than welcome to.
Awesome.
And get some free gift tips.
All right. What other ways do you help people as well? You mentioned a sushi class.
So I have YouTube channel, which is
Great.
marasuzuki.com/YouTube.
Okay.
And I also have some some online classes from time to time. I also do some customize meal prep plan and their recipe ideas. Because
Great.
sometimes people, especially at the beginning, even though they think like, okay, well, this is a game changer, and then I would love to do this, but then sometimes they're not quite confident enough. So
Totally.
I can, work with people one-on-one and then create a plan which fits completely to your lifestyle. So I can do that as well. So just, if you're interested, you just go to my website, and then there's a little chat thingy on the right-hand side. And then,
Perfect.
yeah, ask me questions, or you can also send me an email to mari@marisuzuki.com.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So, to everyone who is listening or watching, I hope that was helpful. It has been super fun for me, and Rebecca. I know you too. We had so much fun talking with you the other
Yeah.
day as well, Mari. That was really a great conversation. And so, yeah, for our listeners, if you're just listening or you're watching on YouTube, please, guys, come over to the Facebook community and be part of the conversation with us. You guys who are in our Facebook community, like I always say, keep doing what you guys do. Keep lifting each other up. Keep raising your hand if you need help, and we're here for that. And thank you so much, Mari, for being here.
Oh, and then one thing, if any of your listeners has any questions while they're listening to this podcast, they can post questions, and then you can send it to me, or I don't know. I mean, we can figure out how to, get access
Yeah,
to the
definitely.
question, and then I will be happy to answer. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
By cooking this way, not just time and then money, but then you will start eating so much healthier easily. And then I lost like 30 pounds after I started eating this way. And
Wow.
then I was pre-diabetic beforehand, but then my diabetes was gone by the next checkup. So,
Right. Well, that's a big deal. Yeah, we can
it's
make a big difference.
than we think. It's not a rocket science. So, yeah.
No. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's such a great point because yes, eliminating even just a portion of the prepared foods that we tend to buy makes a big difference. I worked with the diabetes team over at the VA, and that was one of our big things. It's like stop
Yeah.
eating out, just make some simple recipes at home, even a few days a week makes a huge difference. So thanks for mentioning that.
I think simple recipe could be really tasty.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it can be really good. Yes, that doesn't mean you're eating.
Steamed vegetables and then with nothing on it. I mean, no,
No,
it could be
no.
way tastier. And then by not eating as much processed food or like prepared food, we would our tongue is retrained to be able to taste the natural flavor of the food.
Yes,
We will not
yes.
be as addicted to all the salt and the sugar and the fat and prepared food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
By doing
speaking
that,
our
you might
language.
to actually eat the donuts or dessert you want to eat, and then you don't have to deprive yourself.
Right, because you're not getting half of your sugar intake just eating foods that you don't even realize contain sugar throughout the week. Yeah, it's a big thing. All
Yeah,
right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Mari, thank you again so much.
thank
And
you. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for
If you
being
guys
here.
need me, let me know. I will be happy to help.
Great. Thanks, Mari. All right, guys. We will see you guys
Bye.
next week. We'll keep you posted on what we're going to be talking about. All right. Thanks for being here.